8 inches long.
It is the largest deciduous leaf in North America other than subtropical plants, and it is located here, and most people don't even know that. And so it is a wonderful benefit to protect the buffer and protect bigleaf magnolia.
It would be a shame to lose such natural beauty to urban growth. Bottom line, by protecting our watershed, we also protect our natural heritage. This is a common sight in the Piedmont, and for homeowners without access to a city water supply, it's a necessary means of securing water for their most basic needs. A drill digs many feet below the Earth's surface to find a sufficient supply of groundwater. This groundwater can be found within the upper crumbling layer of rocks and clay, and within the cracks in the bedrock. Believe it or not, what we do on the surface can affect the pure water below. Jason Conrad is a Gaston County Health Department inspector.
Potential sources of groundwater pollution can be oil or gas from an underground storage tank at a gas station. It can be certain chemicals from an industry that have leached out from barrels or storage tanks, or it could be an individual homeowner applying too much fertilizer.
Even when we're far away from surface water such as creeks and streams, our actions can still affect that water. That's because groundwater and surface water such as the Catawba South Fork are both connected.
Groundwater moves and will eventually intersect with surface water, and surface water intersects with groundwater. So if you contaminate the groundwater, you can potentially contaminate surface water.
Conrad's job is to look for potential groundwater contamination. One of his concerns is making sure that septic tank systems used by many residents in the South Fork watershed are installed and maintained correctly.
A septic tank is basically an on-site way of treating household wastewater. You have primary treatment, which is the septic tank, which its basic purpose is to trap solids and have a little bit of bacteria breakdown, and then from there the effluent from the tank flows out into the drain field, and there is absorbed by the soil and goes through a final treatment before it reaches the groundwater.
As long as the system works properly, there should not be any concern for contamination. A failing septic system, however, can contribute high levels of both bacteria and nitrogen to the water. To assure a safe septic system, pumping the tank may be required every 3 to 5 years. Proper septic system maintenance also includes keeping drains free of greases and oils that clog the system, as well as pesticides, paints, and other household chemicals that may kill the beneficial soil bacteria that purify the sewage. You'll find signs like this throughout Gaston County alerting the public that well water is used by nearby residents. These notices are designed to discourage people from dumping hazardous liquids that could seep into the ground near the area of a well. This public awareness campaign, called the Wellhead Protection Program, is a constant reminder that one individual's actions could result in dirty, if not dangerous, drinking water for nearby residents.
If, for example, motor oil was dumped on the ground in this area, we might logically expect that motor oil to end up in the well. On the other hand, if motor oil was spilled over yonder someplace in the county, probably it wouldn't affect this particular well.
But a spill elsewhere could affect someone else's watershed.
What's poured on the surface or goes into the ground here will eventually make its way downstream or down gradient to another point, which would be the South Fork River.
Even if it's miles away.
Yes, even if it's miles away. It could run across the surface and get into a small tributary, which would eventually intersect several other streams and make its way, or it could soak into the ground and become groundwater, and from there eventually meander its way through the ground and make its way to intersecting the stream or the river.
And so whatever you put on the land, whether you're in the city, whether you're in the country, when it rains, the rain droplets and the rainwater will wash across your land, and it will go into a tributary of the South Fork Catawba River, and it goes into the river. So if you put a lot of fertilizer on your yard, if you put a lot of herbicides, pesticides on your yard, if you decide to wash out your paintbrushes with the spigot right on the concrete driveway, all that goes into the South Fork Catawba River.
No matter what you do or where you do it, the South Fork ultimately pays the price. From our homes to the local landfill, garbage trucks bring in tons of household waste every day. One truck alone carries garbage from 280 homes. It's unloaded into what's called a landfill cell, where it is buried and allowed to decay. In Gaston County, strict guidelines and constant monitoring ensure that this garbage and any other contaminants won't seep into groundwater or reach the nearby South Fork Catawba River. Ray Maxwell is a solid waste engineer.
We are very close to the South Fork, and that makes it that much more important that we protect the groundwater.
And how do you do that?
We do that through the liner systems that we install and through monitoring the groundwater.
Geologist Ross Klingman visits the landfill weekly. He tests the groundwater below twice a year.
This is to monitor groundwater quality here at the landfill. This is the water. Now we're going to pour this into a sample bottle supplied by the laboratory. We're sampling the water quality to ensure that water quality is safe for the surrounding area.
There's enough land here to bury garbage for another 40 years. When one cell is filled, another opens. Once again, governmental guidelines help enforce a safer landfill to ensure quality groundwater.
Well, first we dig out a big hole like you see behind me, and we put 2 feet of very select clay in the bottom. And there's a plastic liner that goes on top of that to keep any of the rainwater from seeping into the groundwater. And there's a collection layer on top of the plastic where we collect all the rainwater.
Of course, garbage placed in the landfill is supposed to be biodegradable. It's up to us to make sure that happens.
Hey guys, there's some car batteries.
The environmentally correct way to get rid of hazardous household waste is to find a collection site like this in your community. Once again, Ray Maxwell.
If you have any question about whether or not it's hazardous material, bring it to us and we'll kind of sort through it. You don't want to put hazardous materials into the environment where they shouldn't be.
These hazardous waste are being sorted to determine their ultimate destination. Flammable liquids and liquid pesticides are safely incinerated, while paints end up in a government-approved hazardous landfill. Old motor oil and antifreeze is recycled for future use.
What we put in the ground goes into the water system at some point. You know, every river runs into the sea somewhere.
We usually try to keep from polluting any kind of groundwater. So that's something we practice every day.
These concerned citizens are taking personal responsibility for hazardous waste disposal. They're helping prevent contamination of our most precious natural resource. Without collection sites like this, there's serious question as to what would happen to such hazardous waste.
We'll probably dump that on the ground and pollute our wells and probably kill some of maybe some of the plant life, animal life around our area.
These 4-H members are also helping protect the South Fork. They're learning how recycling works. It's amazing to see that a new object such as this 4-leaf clover can come from ground-up paper and water.
Right there.
What about the
Massive flat.
Oh, that one. You can recycle and you can make stuff out of stuff that was already used. I never thought we could do that.
One more time, we gotta get all the water out of it we can.
These young people are also being encouraged not to litter. A visit from Louie the litter bug can make a lasting impression.
Sometimes he's not very well behaved. Sometimes you do something really bad. Louie is a litter bug. Yes, Louie, you're a litter bug.
The search is on for real-life litter bugs, whether it's a piece of trash thrown from a car window or illegal dumping. Environmental police officers patrol the shores of the South Fork Catawba River.
Somebody used a U-Haul to bring stuff down in here.
Trash like this usually ends up getting in the water.
We're we got a concern, not only for people that drink the water, but for the wildlife that's in the water.
I don't think most people realize what happens in these remote areas that people dump and everything, because it's not out in front of them, so they don't really see it, so they're not aware. And some of the dumping is unbelievable.
We all share the responsibility to protect our natural heritage and safeguard our water supply. So whether you're a youngster learning the importance of recycling, or a weekend gardener limiting the use of pesticides in your own backyard, know that your actions really can make a difference after all. It's our river,